Did you hear me? Except over my dead body. Except over my dead body.
This video is brought to you by Extreme Tees. Click on the link below. Make sure you put Kevin in the promo code and you'll get a 20% discount.
What's going on, America? Kevin from Kevin's Corner, where I try to make sense out of nonsense. And you know, in our very, very polarized, I guess, society nowadays, certain topics are a little taboo. Yeah, man, you can't talk about certain things because you don't want to hurt someone's feelings deep down on the inside. But you know what? I don't care. I don't care. So I need to bring up a subject because it takes all kind to make up a society, right? I mean, we ain't just a society made of a bunch of, left-wing, crazy, radical Democrats. We got all kind of folks running around, black, white, short, tall, black, let's see what else. We got Latinos, we got Muslims, we got Jews, we got Christians and all of that stuff. But one particular group seems to be suffering a lot more criticism than other groups. Because see, America as a whole is made up of a lot of folks that happen to be Christians. Now, this might come as a surprise to you, but the Democrats don't like talking about Christianity. Now, what's the big problem? We all grew up at vacation Bible school and all that stuff. But when you start bringing out some of the Christian fundamentals and biblical principles and actually talking about it in society, that's a problem for them. Because a lot of their policies are very happy-go-lucky. These are policies that, a lot of Christians don't want to embrace. Now, it's not saying that the Christians hate folks, because, me personally, I don't hate anybody. I just want to be left alone. I don't want to be attacked because of what I believe. If you want to go off and do something ridiculous and you choose to, I'm not going to stop you. But when you knock on my door and say, hey, do you support this? And I say no. Then you call me a bigot and you try to strangle my religious freedoms, I might have a problem with that. See, so it's not a thing of judgment. It's not a thing of walking around, pointing the finger and not the thumb. Because, if you're a real Christian and you're honest, we got our own issues. I don't need you to dump some more of your issues on my issues, okay? All right, keep your issues and get tissues for my issues, man. Let me work my issues out. Don't pop up at my spot in my job telling me because, you want to run off and marry an alien, or now your whole, gender and your species is now, and so I'm not a human, I'm some type of organism. That's what you call me. If that's what you want to do, that's what you want to live your life, just go ahead. But when these things pop up in our community and in legislation, that becomes a problem. Because when you start talking about legislation, that means you can penalize folks for violating the law. And that's where it gets tricky. That's what a lot of Christians that vote for Democrats, Joe Biden, all of them, they don't get it. We already are seeing big tech with censorship. This video will probably be demonetized just because I'm talking about Christianity. You don't even have to be a Christian to understand what we're about to hear and some of the thoughts and ideas that's being brought out. You can just be a simple, rational thinking person in our society and say, you know what, I don't agree that a person should be able to marry, a lizard. I just don't. And if they legislate that type of rhetoric and you say, I disagree, now all of a sudden, what? It's hate speech, buddy. We need to have a talk to you. Come on in here. Step into my office, Kev. And I'm going, what did I do? I just opposed marrying lizards. And now all of a sudden I'm getting fired for that. So that's the danger when it comes down to the Democrats and the radical agenda, not just the politicians, because see, the politicians already know most of the ideas and the social justice issues are garbage. They don't believe in it. They don't. You think Nancy Pelosi really believes in transgender reassignment through just mental, efforts? Let me think real hard and I'm a man or I'm a woman. No, they don't believe that stuff. They just know it sounds good on paper. And those that have the boldness to say, that's not science. No, that's your issue. Don't make it a scientific issue. Those folks right there can easily, under legislation, fall into the category of some type of hate speech or a hate crime just for disagreeing with that. That is why you need to pay attention before you vote. Because folks that think they're voting against racism, white nationalism, and all of that stuff, even though they're Christian, they don't realize we might be exchanging one animal for another beast. I'm getting rid of this demon for the devil. So they don't see it. You think you're getting in Trump's mix. You think you're fighting against racism, but you're opening up the door for a whole bunch of other stuff. So now when folks attack Christians and say, how can you be a Christian and still vote for Trump? And I go, well, I mean, you know what? Instead of my pitch, I'm going to go ahead and let this first guy break it down. He does a wonderful job. And you know what? Forget it. I'm going to go ahead and say it. Bottom line, they don't understand that when you're a Christian, you have to include your best interests and your religious interests in your voting decisions. You have to do enough research and observation to where you listen to what these folks are saying when they don't think a lot of Christians are watching them. All right. When they're out there campaigning and, pandering to all these groups and they're asking them crazy stuff. Like, if you become president, Kamala Harris, would you be okay with men getting abortions? Yeah, absolutely. When you hear stuff like that, you say, wait a minute. Now, 2-3 years from now, when this becomes a public issue and the Democrats, because of political pressure, pass a law that you just have to respect someone who, for whatever reason, decides, I want to be a Billy Goat, or I want to get, I need an abortion, but even though I'm a biological man, and you say that's ludicrous, now all of a sudden you brought in on some charges. That's when it comes back to bite you. So with no further ado, I got to give credit where credit is due. This gentleman right here, he breaks some stuff down. And I'm going to let you hear somebody to just take us on out of here. Now, I'm going to let you know, this is the part where I warn you, these are this man's views, which I happen to also support. And then the gentleman after that, those are his Christian beliefs that I happen to believe. And my opinion is I don't come to none of this from the perspective of I'm judging you. I'm coming at this from the perspective of what am I going to do? Embrace what the Bible says or what these Democrats say. And I'm also not a hypocrite. I don't just address issues that simply apply to people who believe in transgender stuff and all that crap. This stuff steps on my feet too. I'm just letting you know that. When you're a Christian, you got to take the good with the bad. You don't think that Christians, if they could, find some loopholes. All right, is there a National Sin Day in here? We don't get to sin and just have fun one day? No? Okay. See, so everybody, if you're a Christian, yeah, you come under scrutiny, but the mistake of the radicals and the left and all of that is they think these observations, statements, and personal beliefs are a result of anger, hate, and some type of bigotry, which it isn't. So I just want to get that out the way up front. Gizmo, get out of here. Go. Take your bone. Driving me crazy. All right, let's get it. Starting off with creepy, sleepy, sloppy Joe pandering.
The idea that an 8-year-old child or a 10-year-old child decides, I decided I want to be transgender. That's what I think I'd like to be. It'll make my life a lot easier. There should be zero discrimination. And what's happening is too many transgender women of color are being murdered. They're being murdered.
All right, did y'all hear that? Now, Joe made me hot. I had to take off my nice, beautiful green hoodie that was sent to me from Extreme Tees. Joe Biden here in his pander mode, and I sped it up a little bit for the sake of time. Joe Biden is out there talking about the thought of, an 8-year-old or 9-year-old wanting to live their life as transgender. And I'm thinking, okay, Joe, where are you going with this? Because see, y'all are supposed to be the party of science. That doesn't sound very scientific to me. That sounds like more of an opinion and an appeasement. But then, to really put that cherry on top when it comes to identity politics, he jumps from dealing with the young girl or boy or whatever this lady was talking about to transgender black people who are being killed. And I'm thinking, is this an epidemic? Did I miss it? I mean, I'm black. I live around a lot of black people, talk to a lot of black. I have not heard Any black person said, man, you know what? Tomorrow, let's all get together and go out looking for transgenders to attack and hurt. I don't know that this is a big issue, but it sounds good because whatever the topic is with the Democrats, they got to slide some race into it somehow, even if the stats doesn't back it up. And nobody in that audience say, hey, Joe, what did you mean when you said that? How many transgender black men or women were killed in the last year or so, whatever, based on the fact that they were transgender? Okay, see, so this is the type of stuff that I'm talking about. Now, this man right here breaks this down and gives a little better clarity on why it's important to be educated.
You know, every few days, it seems there's another news article, blog post, editorial making the rounds on Facebook and stuff with a title like, you know, why this evangelical minister is voting for Joe Biden, or I'm an actual pro-life Christian, so I'm voting for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Or faith leaders back Biden in sign that evangelical support for Trump is waning. The polls still say that Trump is leading as expected with Protestants, though Biden also, as expected, I'm afraid, has majority support among Catholics. Overall, people who qualify, at least according to pollsters, as highly religious still tend not to vote for Democrats. But the trends are troubling. Support for Joe Biden or any other Democrat candidate among religious people ought to be steady at around 0%.
Now, did you hear that? Y'all hear that, man? Now, he got a good point. See, I heard that a lot. People, if you're a Christian, how could you vote for Donald Trump? Well, you know why? Because I don't care about Donald Trump being a Christian or not. I'm not sitting back thinking to myself, you know what? I look for in a president as a priest. No, he's a president. I'm not sitting back looking at his personality. I'm looking at his policies. And when his policies support my policies and beliefs, then you get my vote. I don't care if you're a smooth criminal like Joe Biden. That's what that is. That guy right there is smooth criminal. Him, Obama, all of them. They're like, ding, 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 ding. As a fucking to the thing. I don't know any of those words, but nonetheless, you get the point. So you could vote for a smooth criminal if you want, because they got the oily, slick tongue. And at the end of the day, when you go in talking about hallelujah, you can't say that anymore. What? Yeah, that's hate speech. Since when? Since you voted for somebody who is a smooth criminal, an adapter, and don't support your beliefs. That's what these folks don't get when they try to throw an indictment upon your religious belief based on Trump and his tweets. That ain't got nothing to do with me, man. Anyway, let's continue.
Whatever you decide to do on Election Day, what I can say is that if you're a Christian or an adherent to any other major religion for that matter, you simply cannot vote for Joe Biden. You can, obviously, in the sense that you have the right to and the physical ability to, but you can't do it justifiably.
Now, did y'all hear that analogy? See, he's getting at something right here, and I'm following him. I don't know about y'all, because, see, when it comes down to voting, you might have the slick, oily tongue, but at the end of the day, niceness stops when it comes down to your own private and personal liberties. When somebody looks at you and says, I'm a really nice guy, and I'm all about inclusivity. And what that means to me is violating your individual rights to provide that exclusivity, even though you're not breaking laws, even though that's your personal feelings and beliefs. But we're going to go ahead and trample on all of that. Yeah, because we're trying to be nice for everyone, except for you that got your own individual beliefs. See, that's where he's going with this. But let's continue.
Let's leave aside any question of personal character. You know, I don't think that Biden is unassailably decent and honest the way he's been branded, but never mind that. It comes down to what sorts of things Biden will do, the policies he supports, the bills he will happily sign. I would say that it's not possible to be a decent man who enacts evil policies, but even if it is, what good is that alleged decency? If a man smiles while he punches you in the face, your nose will be no less broken for it.
Are y'all following this man? See, because what he is really saying and breaking down, and this is my opinion too, I don't care what you choose to do with your own personal life, your decisions. That's your choices. You the one got to answer to whatever you believe. However, when you shove it down my throat is where I draw the line. That's the problem. So now, you know, I gave an example during my live show about Sodom and Gomorrah. Folks think it was just simply because the citizens of Sodom and Gomorrah was acting a complete fool that God chose to, destroy the whole city. But if you notice, where God really got upset is when they legislated sin. When they start legislating all types of stuff to whereas he's going, okay, so you're making this okay to do now. You're no longer saying, okay, citizens, if y'all break the law, act up, we're going to step in and we're going to enact some type of judgment or repercussions for your actions. But instead, the folks in power decided to exercise their power with evil and say, yeah, you know what? Y'all guys want to do all that. Y'all want to violate some folks. Go right on ahead. Because according to the new laws that we just put in place, have yourself a ball. That's where God was like, oh, you know what? Now you're dirty from the rooter to the tutor, and I got to burn everything up. So in America, my thing is do you, but don't do me when you bring your dude to my dude. Now we got two dudes, and that's doo-doo. Now I brought that out in my live show the other day, but I had to run it back. It was so funny. It was right off the top of the head, too. And I don't like no doo-doo. Let's continue.
And in the case of Biden, the consequences are far worse than a broken nose. Like this: 60 million children have already been slaughtered by abortion since Roe v. Wade. The grotesque and ludicrous Supreme Court decision that Biden supports and has pledged to defend with all his might. As a Christian, or simply as a person with a functioning moral compass, there is no way to minimize 60 million murdered babies. Joe Biden intends to continue this slaughter, indeed to fund it. After opposing tax funding for abortion for many years, Biden recently reversed himself and decided that American citizens should be forced at proverbial, or maybe not so proverbial, gunpoint to contribute financially to the extermination of human beings. It's all that a Christian needs to hear. But there's more. Even so, Biden is an enemy of religious liberty, vowing, among other things, to reinstate Obama's policy of forcing nuns to allow, quote, access to contraception. Biden's also said that passing the Orwellian and inaccurately named Equality Act would be one of the first priorities of his presidency. This law would make both sexual orientation and gender identity into protected categories under the Civil Rights Act, meaning that a man who identifies as a woman would now be the victim of a civil rights abuse should this self-identification not be respected by, say, a women's shelter that he is demanding access to.
Now you see where this is going. Now you see, if you're a Christian and all you can see in front of you is Trump's or racist, but you're not seeing down the street. You're looking right in front of you. And right down the street is a big old caution sign that's letting you know, what if they throw folks that got this internal thing going on in their head? If they throw them into a civil rights category, all of a sudden now, because you have something going on in your head that you want to express and you're offended that folks don't applaud it, and they put you under the Civil Rights Act, now all of a sudden I'm attacked, punished, my business might be shut down just because I go, well, I mean, I don't hate this guy or girl. I mean, that's just their opinion. When you start saying, you know what, that's, a girl locker room and I'm a full-blown biological man and my daughter happened to be in that locker and and I say, you know what, excuse me, coach, I don't know if I'm okay with that. And the coach go and tells on me. And all of a sudden, whole school shut down, civil rights and all that stuff. These are some things that Christians and citizens, you ain't even got to be a Christian. If you're just a reasonable citizen, you should be considering before you vote folks in. And this dude is about to wrap it up and tell you exactly why.
This is not only an assault on religious liberty, as it forbids the people who run these organizations from operating according to their religious and moral beliefs, but also an assault on science and basic common sense and decency. Speaking of which, Joe Biden very recently endorsed the notion that an 8-year-old boy ought to be able to transition into a girl. Now, whether he really believes this madness or not is another question. The fact remains that he's bought into it, acquiesced to it.
Y'all hear that scenario? And it's going to come back up in a few seconds. This is where I get a little upset, because we've seen some cases where the parents disagree that this 5, 6, 7-year-old, I woke up today wanting to be a little girl or a little boy. And one of the parents are going, what, you're 7. You don't know what you want to be. Last week you wanted to be a princess and now you want to be a dragon. You don't know what you want to be. Well, now all of a sudden you got the law getting involved in that domestic issue. And if this stuff falls into a civil rights issue or category, and people like Joe let the radical left muscle him into allowing legislation like that to pass, you lose your ability to make that choice for your kid who can't make that choice for themselves, because as a 7 or 8-year-old, you don't know what you're doing and what you want to do. But when you got an angry mob that's backed up by legislation, saying that, well, no, you're going to do this because, see, we all believe in it. And therefore, if you don't do it, you're a bigot. Now what? Now you're losing your son, you're losing your daughter, letting the state raise your kid and, messing your kid up because, they turned about 20 and then they mad. Where were you at? Why didn't you stop this, Dad? Well, the state, I knew he was messing up, but the state, they took my job and took you off from me. What you want me to do? What you want me to do? All these folks voted for Joe Biden. That's why I couldn't do nothing about it. Now, take us home, my friend.
The most dangerous and fantastical claims made by the most radical elements of his base, he has acquiesced to and pledged to govern accordingly. And on the same topic of dangerous and radical elements, Biden is a staunch proponent and supporter of the racist, Marxist organization Black Lives Matter, a group that has, in its spare time between fomenting race riots and calling for the defunding of police departments in the most crime-plagued communities in the nation, also publicly pledged to disrupt the nuclear family. What should matter most to us as Christians is that even if he's less bombastic about it, he will help to shape America into a country that is even more hostile to faith, even more dangerous to children, even more fundamentally opposed to us and what we believe. He doesn't deserve our support, shouldn't receive it. So do what you like with your vote, but don't use it to undermine yourself and the values that you supposedly hold dear.
That man just made all types of sense. See, because in a nutshell, what he's saying is it's not about Joe Biden. It's about the folks behind Joe Biden. It's about those radical left-wing activists that is helping Joe by tearing up cities, burning down stuff. You think they're doing that for free? They're going to want some payback. They're going to be like, all right, Joe, now we got some stuff we need done. And because Joe doesn't have a spine, now he becomes victim to allowing these radical agendas and legislation to go and to be pushed out into society that will eventually come back to bite everybody who voted against Trump, all because they've been telling you he's a racist. Now, we're about to finish up from one of my main men. This dude don't care. He takes on that whole statement of Joe Biden about the little kid being transgender, takes it on right by the horns. He wouldn't grab that bull right by his horns. Now, I'm going to let you know. If this is the point right now in the video, if you ain't a Christian and you don't like listening to Christian stuff, you might want to just stop the video because, he's about to keep it real. Let's hear.
They're killing our babies. What are these preachers preaching about? They're killing our babies. They're turning our boys into sissies, turning our girls into lesbians. Joe Biden just said, now he's in town today, but this man just got asked a question. She has two daughters, a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old. The youngest of them, she said, is transgender. The mother expressed concern that the Trump administration had appeared to work against transgender Americans. That'll be enough for me to vote for him right there. And wondered if Biden would do differently. The question was asked about what he would do if the 8-year-old wanted transgender surgery or whatever. Quote, this is a quote from Joe. The idea that an 8-year-old child or a 10-year-old child decides, I want to be transgender. That's what I think I'd like to be. It would make my life a lot easier. Here are Joe's words, all y'all that's gonna vote for him. There should be zero discrimination. Now, I have a 11-year-old grandchild. They've given me 3 grandbabies. John Patrick is 11. Hamelin is 9. And John Jr. is 3. Now they're their children, they're not my children. My grandbabies would not go through no transgender surgery except over my dead body. And I mean it. Did you hear me? Except over my dead body. Except over my dead body. Not bruised He'd have to kill me. She'd have to kill me before they're gonna cut on my children. I don't care what they would say at 8 or 9 or 10. Their minds are made of mush.
Now see, that's what I'm talking about. Talking like that in this day and age can get you in trouble. Now you think the loony left, the radical left is going to tolerate hardcore traditional preaching like this out of a Christian pastor? They don't care if he's black or not. Shoot, you lose your black card when you stop agreeing with the Democrats and their movement. And the same thing with Christianity. Yeah, man, they will tolerate your brand of Christianity as long as it's watered down enough to embrace whatever radical ideas that they have. But as soon as it starts to become a little more dogmatic and confrontational, because let's be honest, the gospel is confrontational. It is not designed to make you feel warm and fuzzy inside all the time. You think I like hearing about stuff that cuts me to the core? No. But you got to eat the good and the bad. It's not a smorgasbord. You can't go down and talk about, let me get something. And I put that away. I don't need all that. No. You need to be like the fat boys and eat it all. That's what you do when it comes down to the Bible. Now, if you ain't a Christian, hey, this ain't for you. It ain't you unless this is for you. But even if you're not, you at least have enough common sense to know that, man, whether it is your religious beliefs, your personal beliefs, whatever, people like Joe, who is going to be beholden to any radical agenda that pops up, will come a knocking at your door at some point. So be very wise before you go in talking about some click it, Joe Biden, because Donald Trump's racist. And after a while, you'll be called a racist, misogynist, xenophobe, homophobe, and you're thinking to yourself, but wait a minute, that was all supposed to be for Trump. Yeah, we know. We knew that's what you were thinking when you surrendered over your civil liberties in the name of stopping that fascist Donald Trump. Now, you've been listening to Kevin and some good preachers and a good, I don't know what down. I ain't gonna say the first guy was a preacher. I don't know what he does. I mean, he's a commentator, but I love what he said, and I don't want to get hit with no copyright issue. So I'm gonna put their links in the bottom of this video and let you know who these men are, because these are wonderful clips that you can share along with my video. All right, so thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit like, share, subscribe, and the notification button. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all that good stuff. The links below, and check out Extreme Tees. I got a little hot, so I had to take the little hoodie off and all that, but you saw it. Click on the link and you can get 20% by putting Kevin in the promo code. Check out KC Uncensored. That's my personal page, and you can see some archive videos and some of the more controversial things I might say that YouTube might not be too happy for me to say. You know, they might shut it down. And then finally, thanks to all those that gave in a super chat or donated to Kev and Kevin's Corner. If you choose to do so, there's links below the video. You can do that. All right, God bless and take care. We'll see y'all next time in Kevin's Corner. Take care. Bye.